On today's live stream, live from Bangkok, Thailand, we're gonna visit this guy. And I gotta tell you, what he said about men's issues was quite surprising and shocking to me. Let's see if anybody is going to listen to him. Then this lovely lady is going to tell us about her date number 456, where all the good men are, right? All women are saying that. Let's see if she maybe has an answer for us. Then we're going to review yet another dating profile with yet another dating flag that is not easy to spot. And then the comment of the day will be about my wardrobe, but not really. We will unpack that complicated comment that I get actually all the time. But there's much more than just the wardrobe comment there, as it usually is. But the top story today is about Barack Obama. Remember that guy who has recently slammed Democrats, progressives, and liberals on how they have handled men's issues over the last couple of decades and essentially betraying men. I'll play a part of that interview that he gave to Michelle Obama. She has her own podcast, and I guess that was an easy booking. He addressed quite a few men's issues there, but this particular one where he essentially criticizes it. And I'll play it to you in just a second. Now, he's right. Men's issues is something that's up for grabs. And if Democrats want to make a comeback, that would be something that they probably should think about. Now, a lot of people think that it's the Republicans who own the men's issues, especially because a big part of the reason why Donald Trump won his second term was because his appeal to men. However, even that is just rhetoric. If you think about it, the last big anti-men law that was signed into law was signed by Donald Trump, and not even this year. It was during his first term. And I bet pretty much every American man who's watching this is going like, wait, what? What law? That's the problem, gentlemen. You don't even know when laws are signed against you. You don't even know which party is your party when it comes to men's issues. Men don't care about these issues as much as they should. So why would our presidents? As a matter of fact, the last time men got together and fought for a cause was when a beer company hired a trans person to do their marketing. Until we start caring about our own rights, we can't ask Barack Obama's and Donald Trump's of the world to care about our issues more than we do care about them ourselves. So let me get to that interview and show you that particular part that I found actually. I was quite shocked about with it, because this interview was given only a few weeks ago, and of course it got no coverage, uh, even though I think this is one of the most polarizing things that Barack Obama said. But of course, why would media cover it if most American men don't give a shit about it? Let's listen in.
And I will say, as quote unquote progressives, Democrats, progressive parents, enlightened ones, we've made that mistake sometimes in terms of our rhetoric, where it's like we're constantly talking about what's wrong with the boys instead of what's right with them. We rightly have tried to invest in girls to make sure that there's a level playing field, and then they're not barred from opportunities. But we haven't been as willing, I think, to be intentional about investing in the boys, and that's been a mistake. And I think people are starting to recognize that. So going back to your optimism, I think there's a healthier conversation taking place now, both among this new generation of young women and men, but also among the public at large that start.
So I'm not sure about the conversation really being that big, because essentially, the channels like mine and there are bigger ones, of course, are still just scratching the surface of what the real issues are. But to have a Barack Obama in a very Barack Obama way of saying this, criticize Democrats, so harshly about essentially abandoning half of their voting bloc, I think is a huge deal. And he's 100% right. And, again, he went out, just the way he talks, right? Doesn't want to offend anybody. But essentially what he's saying, look, you're idiots. You have abandoned half of the population and you want to win elections. You can't consistently promote women and tell women that, hey, we'll go get it, have all of these programs that every time federal government has a budget, a lot of money go to the let's lift women up, let's gonna need more money to women's issues and stuff like that, and those are important when it comes to domestic violence, for example. But they've created a $0 budget for domestic violence victims amongst men, and it is the most unreported crime in America. Domestic violence against men. No Democrat, no Republican called for the funding for that at all. And the funding for colleges also. There are more women who graduate in college, as we now know, than men are. How are we still giving money to women for that? If anything, we should stop. But if anything, really, if we're going to be doing the same thing, now the money should be going to the boys' programs to make sure that more boys go to college, right? Equal rights? I don't think so. But it all comes down to, do men in America, do American men really care about their own issues? The answer right now is no. No, because there are really, I think, two blocks of men who vote at all. One is just don't see the problem. They haven't been red pilled. They don't know that they have less rights, not just legally, but also culturally in America than women do. And any notion of that, anybody saying that, like, hey, have you thought about your rights? And they go like, what? No. That's a problem. But the second problem is men who do vote don't look at their own rights as important enough issue to demand that from the politicians who they're voting for. I mean, think about the issues that come on top for people, right? Like, not to downsize these, but of course, like immigration and trans issues and all of those things. Like, yeah, they exist, but do they really make your life any better or worse? If you get your own way, whatever your politics is. I don't think so. But the men's issues, the fact that you can be accused of sexual harassment or assault when you've never done it, and just the accusation itself will ruin your life, and there are no laws for the woman to be punished for false accusations, that can happen to anybody. I mean, most of you guys cannot keep your jobs if you would say things that I say on this channel. You won't be able to. So this whole freedom of speech bullshit, I have more freedom of speech here in Thailand than you do in America when it comes to men's issues. You will be called misogynist and sexist. And if anybody in the HR department finds out, you know, the woke female in your department, the HR department, or a simp in your HR department finds out, you will be punished. You will probably be fired, because that's how, everything operates nowadays. So until men decide that it is important to them, and then they will start demanding that the politicians that they're voting for actually care about their rights, and not just by going on men's, I don't mean to pick on Donald Trump. I'm an independent. I hated both candidates in the last election. So, and I do appreciate Donald Trump's rhetoric. At least he says things that a lot of men find, hopeful. uh, but at the end of the day, I only judge our politicians by their actions. And the last action that Donald Trump took, that had to do with men's issues, is not a good one. And again, I'm not going to tell you what it is, by the way. I've already made a video about it, and I will make another video about it when the time is right. But go and Google it. I mean, if I'm not going to tell you, because you need to be an educated voter, and it starts with you using Google and ChatGPT or whatever, and start researching. Go research some of the laws that were signed that have to do with men's issues. See if they made your life better or worse. See if they make other men's lives better or worse, and then just see who voted for it in Congress. Because again, don't forget, the president, Donald Trump, was not the only one who participated in making into the law, right? He signed it, but there's a bunch of congressmen who had to vote for it to get to the Donald Trump's desk, right? Until you guys research these issues, and until you make it something that you really truly care about, which I think you should, over issues of transgender people participating in sport, which fucking 99.99% of you will never ever have to deal with. Until then, gentlemen, what are we doing here? I'll take a quick question for the comment from the chat. Trump signed that horrible anti-men law in the first term, but back then men's rights content was only beginning to emerge. In his second term, he looks to be a lot more pro-men. He definitely does look a lot pro-man, but I don't give a shit about how any president, Barack Obama or Donald Trump, look. I care what they actually do for us, right? I think, as a matter of fact, you can argue that one of the reasons Donald Trump won a lot of people who normally voted for Democrats is because Democrats looked like they care about black people, for example, right? But in reality, they really didn't. So I don't care if Donald Trump looks more pro man. That law was a horrible law that he signed, right? Horrible law that he signed, especially for men who, and particularly for men who decide to get married. Um, and that's the way it is. And the thing is, you know, you know, Barack Obama is the only superstar that the Democratic Party had in the last 20 years, right? Even Republicans who voted for Trump after Obama liked Obama. You know what I mean? A lot of people really liked him for many different reasons. Maybe not some of his policies, but generally speaking, they liked Barack Obama. He was and still is the only superstar the Democratic Party had in the last 20 years. And yet, those idiots do not listen to him at all. He is right. I mean, not only he's right about, the problem with men's issues, but he is right that this is an issue how Democrats can still win some of men back that they lost in the last election, right? The midterm election is coming up quite soon. I don't know if you're aware. Democrats have done nothing so far to try to win it. Um, at the end of the day, men in America needs to wake the fuck up, realize that they have less rights, again, legally and culturally, than women, and all of the shitty things that either already have happened to them or will happen to them is something that they should really, really, really care about over other issues that are unlikely to actually touch their lives and affect their lives or lives of their families and friends. So, gentlemen, there's a lot of work to do for all of us. Please get going and start by Googling this law that I just mentioned and see if this is something that you support. All right, let's move on to the next section of the um, of the live stream, and it's the one that I have done now for the third time, and it's one of the easiest contents to find honestly, because it has to do with women in their 30s and 40s, either being delusional, um, but at the same time realizing that holy shit, I'm in my 30s or 40s and men are not really coming for me. I'm feeling a little uncomfortable, right? So it is a problem that they haven't solved, but at least some of them are asking why, and that's why I have another segment called her question of the week, and I do those on Friday. Okay, the leftovers of the week. In that segment, we're going. Let me start over. The brain fart. This week's leftovers of the week segment will feature this lovely lady who will tell us about her date number 456 and why that is.
So, wish me luck. Running to go on date number 456. So, wish me luck. running out of men in Toronto.
Wow, 455 dates so far, and none of those men were good enough for this princess in her 30s, who doesn't own a brush and is still lonely and single. And my second thought is, wow, that's a lot of free dinners and drinks and rides home and probably some movie tickets and other things that she's gathered from those 455 men. But not a clue why that's happening, because there are people in your comment section, and by people I mean men, people who you should be taking advice from. Advice from other single women literally will be the worst advice you'll ever have. But here's what she thinks about that advice, right? She's basically saying that, all of these comments are dumb and people are trolling. But these are the people who are essentially telling her why she is going on a date 456 and most likely is now on 457, 458, and so forth and so forth. Uh, I've always said this.
Wish me luck.
Sorry.
Running out of men in Toronto.
I've always said this: women are the dumbest species in the world when it comes to finding the right mate. An earthworm is better at finding a mate because the earthworm doesn't have all these ridiculously high standards for what it really has to offer. It finds the mate and it continues the generation. I don't think this is happening, with humans anymore. I mean, do you understand now? I'm sure she's exaggerating that it's 456 men, but I guarantee you that it is a quite large number where she doesn't get the second dates. Either men recognize that she's not dateable, or she thinks that she's too hot or too valuable for this average man. The average women like her do not want average men. And you know what? An average man in America is not a bad man. An average man in America makes 50, $60,000, which is more than enough to have a family, not in New York or San Francisco, but in suburbs of Houston, Texas, for example, or somewhere in Minnesota. That is more than enough to put a roof over the family's heads and provide them with vehicles to get to their jobs and to get to school. These are good men who may not be PhD educated, but who care about their wives and care about the families. They will make good husbands and good fathers. But these are not good enough, right? These men are not good enough for average women. Now, I understand when really good-looking women want high-value men. Now, those women still have not as much to offer as they once did, and that's why those high-value men pass on that, or leave America and come here to Southeast Asia, Thailand, Philippines, and South America. But we've covered that enough, and we'll cover it again on this channel. But I'm talking about fucking average looking girl who is now in her 30s that somehow cannot find a man. Date after date after date after date, and no one's good enough. And knowing how much men simp, it is mind-boggling that these women still cannot end up with someone, right? And this has never been easier. The dating life has never been easier for women ever in a history of the universe as it is right now. They can simply open their dating apps and have hundreds of simps offer them attention, validation, money, all of the drugs that women love nowadays. And yet none of it is good enough for these princesses. And that's why in the next video, in the next 5 or 10 years, you will see her crying about how she's now not able to have kids, and feels like nobody really wants her, and all the men that she's trying to flirt with doesn't really want her. They're all flirting with 22-year-olds or in Thailand now. And now she's going to be surrounded both by her cats and prescription for antidepressants. Like, there's a famous painting, I forget its name, but it's a bunch of blind people, having, walking somewhere, and each man has a hand on the other one's shoulder, right? So, but the first guy is already accidentally is falling down into a trench, right? And he's like, oh shit, and the second guy is realizing he's just about to fall, so he's like, oh shit, right? But the third guy and the fourth and the fifth guy who doesn't know what's happening ahead, because they're blind, are still smiling and laughing and whatever. And they don't know that only seconds later they're going to be in the ditch with the rest of the guys trying to get out, right? This is how I think about Western women, right? Like it's so easy to see those women in their 30s and 40s in the ditch, essentially, in a dating ditch, despite all of these choices and options they've had, right? And yet, the women in their 20s are still smiling, go like, yeah, I'm going to get tattoos and fucking nose rings, and I'm going to be okay. I'm going to get married. There's plenty of time. Um, they don't see that only in a few years this is going to be them. And she might be smiling now, but I guarantee you that when she comes back from those dates by herself, and has to spend yet another night by herself, there is no smile on her face. There's just not. um, let's take some comments. This is still about the first segment. Kurt says, I'm looking for the law that would be anti-male, but I'm not finding it. Okay. Look for an alimony changes that were signed into law. I'm going to give you a little bit of a clue. Yes, Rock said correct. That law was about alimony. That's right. Kurt says, from a USA policy perspective, all of the policies of the government are aimed at population control. All of them. Fewer marriages, more divorces. Every single policy. Um, honestly, I think you're giving U.S. government, whether it's run by Republicans or Democrats, way too much fucking credit. I don't think our government has been smart or even functional in a while. Well, sorry, your government. Um, so I don't also think that they're targeting population control. If anything, I think, especially with Elon Musk bringing this issue up several years ago, I think America wants more kids, because especially because of the social security issues, right? So if anything, I think every government in every country, even China nowadays, wants their population not to subside, but to either continue to be stable or grow, because again, social security, armies, it is a policy of, I think, most of the countries. So if anything, our government, sorry, your government, should be concerned about the fact that there are fewer marriages and more divorces. Um, so that's my response. But Kurt, I hope you and every man watching this finds that law. Um, and if you voted for Trump, I would be curious to see your reaction and your thoughts on whether or not, if you knew about this, you would have second thoughts. Not that you've had a better choice on the other side, but I'm just wondering. Um, okay, let's get to the next segment. And I like this one a lot. It's one of my favorites. Let's see where it is. No, not here. All right. Let's get to the dating profile of the day. And we're going to meet Ashley, who is 34 in Sacramento, California. And her profile looks really, really good. At first, you might want to swipe right on it. However, there is a red flag that I think most men are going to miss. So I'm here to point that out. First, let's go over her pictures. Now, it's not a secret if you've been watching my channel for a while. I love black women. I pretty much only dated black women in America, and even here in Thailand, I found a couple of black girls that I went out with. Unfortunately, they were very much westernized, and that did not last long. But I thought I would give it a chance, and I recently went to Africa to check out the dating scene in Kenya, and I've already made a video about that. But you can probably guess what happened since I am back in Thailand, which I love dearly. All right, let's look at our pictures. Nice picture, smiling, dressed very appropriately. I don't see any nose rings or tattoos or whatever. Um, Not the best picture. I wouldn't post this picture per se, but it's not the ugliest picture either, right? No makeup. Here's one where I think she looks the best in this picture, and you can see pretty much the shape of her body without her having to parade around in a bathing suit. So this is a good one. Now, a bit of a red flag here, I would say a yellow flag, and we're going to visit it in a second. Um, but she is in Paris, right? And that's not a cheap trip to take. And then this picture, which probably if I were her, I would avoid, but all right. All right, now let's scroll down to her profile. She's 5'8", which is a little bit too tall for some guys, but I have to say, my experience dating black women, they don't care. They will date a guy who is shorter than them. Um, the best dates that I had in Kenya a couple of months ago with a girl who was 5'11", still is. I'm 5'8", right? And I asked her to wear heels, and she gladly did. So a lot of black women, that's my experience in America and Africa, don't care about you being shorter. So that's not a problem. I personally love dating women who are taller than me. Even if the girl's like not as tall as me, I would still see if she can wear like platforms, do her hair up, and look taller than me. I just love that. All right. Drinks sometimes. I'm assuming that she doesn't smoke. That's great. Doesn't have kids. Perfect, but might want them. So this is great. Doesn't have pets. That's another usually yellow red flag that we see, that girls already adopted cats and dogs and didn't care what their future husbands and partners wanted. Um, Looking for men for short-term and long-term dating. Love to see that. She says, I am a gym loving foodie. That's funny. Who's deeply passionate about education, traveling, and family. Again, there's traveling there. My favorite grocery store trader is Joe. Like, so far, this sounds great. I'm a sucker for fresh flowers. Most likely an old fashioned girl. I love that. If you love to travel, let's go. I'm down to explore. Okay. She says, one day I would love to live outside of the US, even for 1 year. I'm living outside of the US for the rest of my lives, guys, and I love it. I would love to meet a great person. Well, wow, you so rare to meet somebody who would love to meet a great person. But okay, let's go back to here. She says, if you'd love to travel, let's go. I'm down to explore. We already saw a picture of her in Paris. My question is always, hey, where'd you get the money to go traveling? Now, some people do budget really well for travel, so they can even go to Paris and buy tickets like either 6 months or 12 months ahead, or like the 2 days before, and get a really, really good deal. Like, there are deals where you can like fly to Paris and back for like $600, right? They're not widely available. And in Paris, you can find an Airbnb to share with people do do luxury trips on the budget, and that's what she could have done. Always want to ask, like, who paid for these trips? Because a lot of times, like most of the time, it's either another guy before, and so she's used to being treated to luxury trips, or she is a boss chick with a career, which is always a red flag. Swipe left immediately. Who earns enough money to pay for her trips and the business class tickets and nice hotel and stuff like that. So this is a yellow flag. But in this case, she might have gone to one or two countries, say that's nice, did it on a budget, and would love to do it again. There's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, one of the things you want to do is to show your girl the world, right? Now I'm going to skip over a section that has a red flag. Let's go through the rest of it. And waking up early, hitting the gym. The fact that she is fit and in shape is extremely important. Okay, at least to me. Not only I like toned women who are in shape. I love the fact that a woman takes care of her health. That means she's most likely to care about my health. That most likely she's not going to have health problems in the future. She'll live long. I prefer that my future wife or forever partner dies after me. I want to die before her. I do not want. I can't handle that. All right. I mean, I got to tell you, everything else that she says in the profile. Um, is great, and her pictures are great. But the section that I skipped, guys, let's look at that, because this is where the I would say the deal breaker is. And a lot of you might have skipped through it and say, no big deal, I don't even know what this is. But it just says, I value quality time, but acts of service and physical touch is my love language. Okay, first of all, it is not is your love language. This are your love languages, which is bullshit. Bullshit. You only get one. There are 5 love languages and you only get one. And quality time is one of them as well. So essentially she's saying, I want 3 different ways how you love me, and out of 5, and not one like everybody else supposed to have. So that's already bullshit. But here's a problem. Acts of service is the love language of a dominant person, usually alpha male, or alpha female. Because essentially, when we're alpha, we seek the submissive partners, we seek traditional partners, and the way we receive love from them is as acts of service. That is just the way it is. Mine has always been. This is how I find my partners. If you do, by the way, if you don't know what love languages are, you need to figure it out. This is actually a great way to figure out early on in the relationship whether or not this can go a long way. In this case, I got to tell you, if you're an alpha man, if you're a strong man who is a dominant man who's going to be head of your household, this is not a woman for you. If she wants you to service her and essentially simp for her, this is not going to work. This is very, very important. And the fact that she put 3 out of 5 love languages here, that's another problem. So unfortunately, as good as this profile looks, I got to tell you, everything else, I mean, eh, I would hate to see this and go like, so close, and then having to swipe left. But this is something that you guys need to be aware of. Love languages are very important. Love languages, just in case if you don't know, there's 5 of them. What is quality time, acts of service, physical touch, gifts, and quality time, acts of service, physical touch, gifts. I forget the 5th one. You can look it up. But mine is obviously acts of service. The it is what each person should determine how they want to receive love, right? Because love is such a bullshit concept, right? When one person says I love you to another person, the other person have no fucking idea what they mean, right? Everybody loves in their own different ways, and that's why love is never enough to keep a long-term partnership and relationship going. But if you want to receive love in one way and the other person is not able to give it to you, like for example, I am not able to do acts of service to my significant other as because it's her love language. I don't do that. Acts of service is not me. So if a girl says, well, I want acts of service as love language, I now know we're not compatible. Just like, when I say acts of service and the girl goes like, oh, this guy is going to need a submissive girl and I'm not it, don't waste each other's time. This is a great way to tell. And in this case, like I said, unless you're beta male, if you're beta male, then absolutely swipe right. But if you are a strong alpha male, or just a dominant male who wants a submissive female, this is not going to work. I'm sorry. All right, let me take another comment here. I think that these girls in California are rare enough, and as such, she would she would receive 1,000 matches. You'd have to compete with other men that also want her. Thailand is better for that. So interesting. I think here's the thing. Just like a lot of women, most Western women don't know what a good man is. I think a lot of men in America who are simps and beta males don't know what a good woman is, right? They were raised by simp fathers or single mothers, and they don't know what a good traditional woman is. I have the course, in the description of this video, themillionmanproject.com, where I teach how to move from America or any other Western country to a more traditional country like Thailand, Philippines, and so forth. And the first part of that course is to explain to men what a traditional woman is and what the benefits are. A lot of men don't know. A lot of men don't know. You know, like I always ask, you know, here's a good test. What a woman should do when you walk into your home, and she's already there, right? Um, well, the correct answer: she should bring your slippers and put them in front of you. That blows people's minds and of course makes women angry. But that's what a woman should do. That's what a traditional woman is, and a lot of guys don't even know this. So um so she's gonna get matches just because she's cute, just because she's got a, uh she is sexy. And especially for men who love dating black women like me, they and a lot of guys don't even read the profiles, right? A lot of women don't read the profiles, but a lot of guys don't read the profiles. That's why they miss the red flags. That's why they waste their time and money on women. And again, she sounds very lovely. I don't want to, I don't want to. There's some women over here, as you know, just complete trash. Not her. She is very lovely, but it would not work, with a dominant male, which I have a feeling she wants, right? If she likes fresh flowers, man giving her flowers, which by the way is not an act of service. So yeah, but in Thailand, um, I think the problem is still the same. At least when American men come here, American men are still show up here as simps and beta males. So they seek out the Thai women who've Americanized themselves to take advantage of that. So, it doesn't necessarily work because of the location. It should work because of the location, plus the fact that you're an alpha male and strong male and a dominant figure. And that's why it would work here in Thailand. But again, things are slipping away day by day here. Unfortunately, I have to tell you this, guys. All right, let's move on to the last segment here, and this is going to be fun. Let's see. Let me set everything up. Oh, one more. I forgot my own thing right here. All right, that is much better. All right. The comment of the day today is a personal attack, which I kind of really liked because I promise you guys I'll be featuring some nasty hate mail. I'm not sure if this is nasty, but this this guy, this is either a simp or a Western woman. I guess what's the difference anymore, right? Neither one has balls, but she or he says, "Men's news wearing pink." Really? Haha. Emoji icon. So I gotta tell you, there's two important things that are hiding here. One is abso-fucking-lutely, I love wearing pink. I believe only real men can pull it off, especially when you wear it with black. For example, when I go out in this shirt, I wear black pants, right? I'm not wearing pants right now because I'm doing live stream, but my underwear is black. So it still looks damn good as I'm pantless live streaming to you from Thailand. But again, I make it look fucking great. And as a matter of fact, just for that person, I wore a beautiful hot pink watch. And again, when I go out, a lot of women would compliment me. And not because, like, oh, that's probably gay guy. I'm going to go, like, yeah, girlfriend. No, these women know that I am a heterosexual man and pink looks great. The amount of compliments that I get from women um, is great. And women who I go out with, like if I go out with a girl that I've been dating for a while, and I show up in a pink shirt, they absolutely fucking love it. It shows you, and you know why, right? It shows you that you're confident enough to wear a fucking pink shirt and go like, yeah, I make it look good. What's up? So that's about the wardrobe. Now, obviously it's probably falling on deaf ears because an American or Western man usually don't know shit about how to look good, and a lot of Western women also don't really appreciate it. So I know that's falling on deaf ears. However, that's not why I picked this comment. Do not like to waste my time defending my wardrobe choices. Um, the reason I picked this comment is actually this is the only type of comments that I usually get from Sims and Western women, because nothing that I say on my channel, as much as I like to talk about this, because these are important men's issues, they have any good, reasonable, logical comebacks for that are backed by any type of facts or data or numbers or anything like that. And this is how I know that I'm doing the right thing. This is how I know that my content is good. In the beginning, I was wondering when I started this channel, like, will I find my voice? Will I resonate with people? Will I be phrasing things correctly to bring the points across? And I knew that because I ran previously a channel, a social media project with almost a million follows across the social media platforms. I kind of knew that it is usually the negative comments that tell you that you're doing the right thing. And I knew that, and even now, I'm like, if I'm not getting enough of hate comments and comments like this, I'm not doing my job. You know, Obviously, like especially on a platform. I think this is from YouTube, but on Red Note, for example, I have women and Sims follow me specifically so they can watch my video, get triggered, and submit a nasty comment. That's like, I have followers like that. They follow me out of hate, not out of love or like or getting information or whatever. And I find it hilarious and I love it. Those are my best viewers. I just absolutely love them. So this is how you know your arguments are good and your cause is good. When the only argument back is a personal attack, right? Oh, you're ugly, you're bold, you have a pink shirt, you're an incel, you're a pedo because you live in Thailand. Great stuff, guys. Great stuff. Rarely they come up with anything creative. I've been getting this comment for as long as I've been wearing pink shirts and pink socks, and that's been a couple of decades now. So that's how I know that I'm doing the right thing. This is how I know that the only rebuttal to my statements and my thoughts and my concepts is, you stupid, fuck you. This is perfect. This is excellent. This is how I know that I'm doing uh, the right thing. Colin says, sounds like somebody who doesn't know anything about fashion. Pink makes skin color pop. Yes, you know who loves wearing pink shirts? Black dudes. And I got to tell you, black dudes in America and actually around the world are really good at looking good and being fashionable. There's a lot of stuff that black dudes wear that I'm like, oh man, I don't think I can pull it off. But a pink shirt, I can. Um, Kurt says, how many men does it take to open a bottle of beer? None. It should be opened when she serves it to him. That is funny and true at the same time. Um, let's see. Collins also says it really sounds like a comment made by somebody who lives in the West. Yeah, most of the comments are from, especially negative ones, are from Western women and Western men who are simps and beta males. If you're somebody who lives in Europe or Asia or Africa, hell, even South America, nobody gives a shit about guys wearing pink. Listen, people who know about fashion, people who know about just looking good, know that pink looks good on a man, especially when you wear it with black. Like sometimes I would wear. Well, I can't really wear this in Thailand because it's so fucking hot. But I would wear either a jacket, a sports jacket on top of that is black, or I forgot the name of vest, or I would wear a vest. So as a matter of fact, when I did some modeling, a while back, even in my portfolio, I had the series of photo shoots that I did where I wore pink in one way or another. In one case, it would be the shirt. Another one would be a hat. Another way would be the pants. So I had this, pink modeling portfolio that a lot of photographers really liked. So yeah, but here's the thing. This is not the fashion. I used to have a fashion channel. That's how I started my YouTube career. I actually had fashion for men channel, and the reason it failed because most American men don't fucking know what it is, why they should be fashionable. That is the easiest way to separate yourself from other men, to look good. That, nice clothes, nice shoes, nice, trimming your hair, nice hairstyle, all of it can make you compete with other better looking men, where normally you wouldn't if you're just wearing fucking oversized t-shirt and shorts and sandals over socks. A lot of men don't know that, and it's very unfortunate. But again, this is not about fashion. This is about the fact that, these men's issues that I talk about and other influencers talk about on social media are important. And we know we are right. We are in the right here because the other side never has good counter arguments. Because if they did, I would listen. Every time I talk shit about a woman, criticize her, and do a reaction video, I guess I kind of stopped doing it recently, but when I started, I would always reach out to her and say, hey, I'm doing a reaction video on your video. Would you like to come on to my channel and have a little debate? I reached out to feminist organizations in America, a ton of them, and say, hey, I have a red pill channel, I have a men's rights channel. Would you like to come in and have a civil conversation? You know how many of those organizations, women influencers, and women, and girls in those videos have actually come on this channel and agreed to it? Fucking Zippo, because they know they're going to get destroyed. They know that they're living in a world that's now skewed towards them. They're enjoying the fuck out of it. They're taking advantage of it. They now feel entitled to it. And anybody who wants to tell them, and especially tell the men the truth, anybody who wants to hold them responsible for their actions and words, they want to stay the fuck away from them. They'd rather submit a comment like this and run than to have an actual debate. And this is how I know I'm doing the right thing, and this is a good cause for me to dedicate, my future years of my career to. And like I said, this is not the worst one, right? I mean, at least this is kind of a funny, interesting one. There's a lot of just nasty ones, which I enjoy just as much because I was like, yep, if that's your comeback, I just won by default. So, all right, guys. Hopefully, thanks for all of the comments, by the way. I definitely enjoy that. I am going to Safari World right now, which is our well, it's exactly what it sounds. It's a zoo that's a safari. You can do so many more things that you can do in like Western zoos and American zoos. Like, I'm gonna pet a giraffe and scratch him behind his ear in another few hours. And I love that. As a matter of fact, here in Bangkok, we have a lot of things that are better than anywhere in the world. But one of the things, as somebody who loves giraffes, right? That's one of the reasons I went to Africa. I wanted to see a giraffe in the wild. And oh my God, guys, I got to hang out with a giraffe in in an African safari forest. Just hang out with a wild giraffe. Like, it was an amazing experience. But anyway, here in Bangkok, we have the biggest herd of giraffes in captivity. I think it's like fucking 50 or 60. It's amazing. So that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go with one of the girls that I've been dating for a long time. That's going to be great. And after that, I'm going to be back preparing the show for tomorrow. I'm actually also tonight going to interview somebody who I'm working on a story with, somebody who submitted an app, a pro men app, which is like the opposite of the T app for women, and got denied by Apple with the claims that they they didn't raise with the pro women's app. So I'm gonna interview him, and then I'm gonna edit it and have you guys check it out, because this is yet another problem. Yesterday I covered this story, how TikTok is very much anti-man, and what's been happening with my account. And I There's another story about a big American corporation that's essentially peddling feminism and censoring pro men and men's issues accounts. Colin says, "Have a good night." Not in a while. I just recently woke up. It is not even 1 p.m. here in uh, in Bangkok, but you have a good night. I'm sure you are in America, I'm assuming, right? Um, yeah, it's I already, like, it's funny. At first I was like, oh, is there going to be enough men's rights news and men's news? And I got to tell you, I already have all of the news topics lined up for the entire week. So all right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. It's been a pleasure as always, but I will see you tomorrow at the same time, at the same place. Peace. If you want to ditch modern women and move abroad for more traditional relationships, go to themillionmanproject.com, take my most comprehensive course, and change your life.